As a filmmaker and content creator, the world of drones, being able to get aerial photography and videography to add to establishing shots, and to tell your story using different angles from above that you would never be able to get without one of these aerial cameras, makes them a very lucrative thing. In this videography climate, there's no shortage of options for upcoming and learning content creators or filmmakers when looking at choosing your first drone, and that's exactly what I was about 4 months ago from this point. Depending on your budget, you can go very high end or very low end and have a different board of features depending on where you sit. I was very much in the middle, wanting to spend around $600 on a drone that I could use for all my aerial shots with a decent sensor, obstacle avoidance, 4K recording, and decent flight time. I eventually landed on the drone you're seeing on screen right now, and as a matter of fact, it's a drone that you cannot buy today, at least not from retailers. Join me as I dive into why I absolutely love the DJI Mini 3 Pro and why, if you can find it secondhand, especially with the Fly More bundle, it will absolutely do you right as a flying videography companion. When it launched in October of 2022, at retail price, the DJI Mini 3 Pro came in at about $1,000 with the Fly More bundle, the same as the Mini 4 Pro does today. However, finding it for secondhand back market prices on websites like eBay, for example, I was able to pick one up completely untouched, unscuffed, brand new for around $600. It comes in a slightly bigger package than the previous Mini 2, with a slightly larger sensor, obstacle avoidance built in, which separates it from the retailer available Mini 3 that's still on the market at the moment, and a whole array of features that made it the most desirable drone on the market for me. Now, instead of listing off a whole load of specs from a sheet that you've probably already heard before, I'm going to talk about why I chose the Mini 3 Pro over the Mini 4 Pro, even though the Mini 4 is a definite upgrade from the Mini 3 Pro, and what results I've got out of it, my learnings, and why I've loved using it over the last couple of months as I've traveled around Norway, Scotland, and around other parts of the UK. First of all, it's sub 250 grams, meaning your license test is fairly easy, and if you're shooting recreationally, which I do, you're going to have a minimal amount of paperwork to fill out. It also makes it incredibly light. I've absolutely loved throwing this thing in a bag or even in a pocket. It's that small. Despite the larger housing than the Mini 2 that came previous, it still is small enough to genuinely carry around as a pocket-sized drone and just throw it away and not think about it until you have to use it again. Although the Fly More bundle that I bought secondhand does come with the carry bag, which can fit both your RC, which we'll get into in a bit, your charging dock, which is an absolute godsend for storage space and for charging the batteries when you get the chance to between shoots, and a space for the drone itself, I had absolutely no problem chucking everything into my main camera bag and just not worrying about it at all. So the size was a massive incentive for me to buy it. The main thing over the Mini 4 Pro though, for me, was the price. As I said, the Mini 4 Pro is around £1,000 retail, and getting a Mini 3 Pro for just a couple of features being cut between them was an absolute no-brainer for me. If you go for the lower down Mini 3 Pro, you are going to miss out on a couple of features like waypoints, D-Log, and omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. The Mini 3 Pro for me though, honestly, its tri-directional obstacle avoidance was completely fine through all of my flying and testing, and the only one time that I have crashed it was me setting it on the wrong mode to pan around me and sending it into a wall. That mode in particular disables the obstacle avoidance, so I've absolutely had no problem with it when it's on. That for me made it a great beginner drone, and even though I am missing out on a couple of the features, like I said, like D-Log, like the waypoints, and the slightly better obstacle avoidance on the Mini 4 Pro, for a $400 price cut of getting this pretty much brand new, like new, with only a couple flights on its record, was absolutely worth it. And I struggle to notice the difference between footage between the DJI Mini 3 Pro and the 4 Pro due to their sensor being pretty much identical. I absolutely love the smart controller on this thing as well. It is also available in the Mini 3, which is available at retail price still, but it just saves me a bit of hassle having to take my phone out and not being able to access my phone as I'm flying, which you would have with the normal RC controller, but with the built-in screen RC controller, everything is put into that one little package, and it is a well-built piece of kit. Signal-wise, I was able to fly the drone thousands of meters away and not lose signal at all. Even in the highlands and the mountains, the signal was absolutely rock solid, with mountains in the way between me and the drone as it flew. Even though I'm not really focused on vertical video style content platforms, if you are into that and do use those a lot, the native vertical shooting on the DJI Mini 3 Pro is also perfect. The 4 Pro also has this, but for the price cut, you still get it on the DJI Mini 3 Pro. I was also really impressed by the wind resistance on the Mini 3 Pro. I admit I was a little bit apprehensive in flying it in slightly higher wind speeds, but it's rated for 25-mile-an-hour gusts, and to be honest, I flew it in slightly higher winds than that, and it had almost no problem. There were 1 or 2 moments where it said that it was too strong to return to home, but those were in very short gusts, and it returned to normal afterwards, and aside from that, it performed absolutely bang on. I'm not really a photography person in terms of drone shooting, but the way the drone handles the ISO management and not adding too much noise into photos is pretty great. The RAWs are good to grade with, and you can get your own settings and put your own filters and your own looks on the shots, as I've been traveling with a couple photographers and they've done wildly different things to the RAWs that I've taken out of the DJI Mini 3 Pro. So I couldn't be happier with the photos at the end of the day. Especially flying around Norway quite late at night at about 11:30 p.m. where the light is fairly low. It's an absolute low light powerhouse, even when all the lights had gone down as far as it does in Norway in the summer. The drone was able to output a not too noisy image for the tiny little sensor that it has. However, I have got to say, if you're in the market for a drone and you are not too bothered about the obstacle avoidance on the Mini 3 Pro and don't mind using your phone as an RC controller screen, take a look at the brand new released DJI Mini 4K. It is a rehousing of the Mini 2, essentially. And the quality of the sensor on that thing is basically indistinguishable. You're not going to get as many features like waypoints when you're using time-lapse on the Mini 3 Pro or the obstacle avoidance, as I just said, but retail price of the DJI Mini 4K, even with the Fly More bundle, is less than I paid for the second-hand, barely used DJI Mini 3 Pro with the Fly More package. So honestly, if you're looking for a budget drone and you want it to be new, that 4K could really do you well. I'm not going to sit here and say you've got to buy this thing that I bought and I've been absolutely loving. I just wanted to share my experience and also throw out another option if you're in the market for a drone, but you don't want to go secondhand like I did, which is absolutely fair enough. Not every single seller or retailer who is selling these things back market secondhand is going to be truthful about their flight time, so it's best to get a hold of the logs before you buy anything to make sure they haven't crashed it, how many times they've flown it, line up to the charge counts on the batteries, and all sorts. It's also worth mentioning that if you buy secondhand, more often than not, you're not going to be able to get DJI Refresh or DJI Care on your drone. Meaning if you crash it, you've got to go through DJI's paid repair service most likely. This isn't too much of a worry for me, as I just kind of take the risk, and the drone is a very tough little thing. Any scuffs or marks that you get on the body won't really impact your flight as long as it's not on the propellers itself, and I'm perfectly comfortable flying it knowing that I don't have refresh. But if that's really something important to you and you're worried about a beginner drone crashing it, especially without any obstacle avoidance on the Mini 4K that's just been recently released, maybe you do want to opt for a retail price drone and skip out on the obstacle avoidance features and things like that the Mini 3 Pro has. In that case, go for the 4K, get DJI Refresh, and have peace of mind when you're flying and filming. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is my first proper dedicated video to a product on this channel. I don't buy camera gear too often, so I don't know how often I will be doing reviews like this, but it has been a lot of fun. My impressions of the DJI Mini 3 Pro in 2024, it's still absolutely worth it in my opinion. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe for more drone footage whenever I go out flying, and also more product reviews of cameras and camera gear and different trips and places around the world that I go to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.